Hello and welcome to this very special episode of Desert Island Tricks. I'll tell you why it's special. It's special for a few reasons. So the first reason, obviously, is it's a video. So this is I think it's our fourth video podcast now, which is exciting. And the reason it's a video podcast is we have a special guest on today. But we'll talk about him in a second because not only is he a special guest that we have on, but he also gets to start our new season. So that's reason two that this is an episode that's special. So this is the first of our very second season. So we've done over 52 of the main podcast now, which is unreal. And of course, we've done even more with Stranded with a Stranger on top of that. So that's number two. Number three is our guest is the first person to get a new item. Oh, I feel like I should insert a sound effect there. We'll see. So the idea is, up until this point, our guests have had 8 tricks, 1 book, 1 non-magic item. But now they get to banish something on their island. They get to dig a big sandy hole, chuck something in that hole, and get it banished from our industry for good. Now, this might be a certain line that magicians say, a certain thing magicians say. Maybe it's a plot in magic that they don't agree with. Maybe it's just something about the industry in general, something that they could banish if they were allowed to. So, today's guest is going to be the first person that gets to do that. So let's find out about today's guest. Matthew Pomeroy is a magician and a mentalist, known for being one half of The Conjurers, alongside Natasha Lamb. Their show, Cabin of Wonders, has been thrilling audiences in Las Vegas with 5-star reviews across the board, from Broadway World, The Stage, Fox News, just to name a few. Together, they've appeared on TV with incredible performances on Penn and Teller Fool Us, which was great, Masters of Illusion, equally great, and of course the Masters of Illusion Christmas special as well. Performing in over 37 countries and selling out 8 tours, we are thrilled to invite Matthew Pomeroy to the Alakazam Island. So, hello, Matthew.
Well, hello. That was very lovely. Thank you so much. And congratulations on 52 episodes.
I know.
It's amazing.
It's just mad to think of all of the people that I've had the chance to sit down to. We've had some incredible guests on over the past year. So I'm excited that you're kicking off our season 2. No pressure or anything.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Well, we've been trying to get you on for a long time, but the truth is you are incredibly busy. At the time of recording, you just told me that you've done 3 shows today, and it's early, very early morning where you are now, so you must be exhausted.
Yeah, and today's our day off. So we've just done 3 little events at Mandalay Bay, and now we're here. I'm excited. I love this time of night. It's quiet and peaceful, so I'm all about it. Thank you for letting me do it so early in the morning. This side, rather than your side, it's perfect.
Well, I'm excited to see. So at the moment, are you in Vegas at the moment?
Yeah, so in Vegas, 6 days a week with the show. And then we actually come back to England for 2 weeks in February. We're doing something in the Dorchester and a few little theatres. But yeah, based here all the time. We're very blessed. The show just won the best new show in Vegas. And we love it. We couldn't be more proud or happy. So yeah, here full time. We've got a house and we're fully Vegas people.
And how many years has the show been going on there now?
So we started in February last year, 24th of Feb. So not even a year yet. But yeah, I am incredibly blessed. When Tash and I came to Vegas, and I've said it many times, one thing that we wanted more than anything else was to be part of the magic community. We was doing theatres and cruise ships and kind of everywhere, but nobody knew us. And we was never in the conversation for anything. And I'm really blessed and proud and privileged that things like this have happened due to being here in Vegas. We've made some incredible friends. But more than anything, more than the show and the reviews and all of that, it's just cool to be asked to do things like this. So thank you to you for having me. And yeah, I really appreciate it.
Like I say, thank you for coming on. But I want to find out about... So normally we wouldn't do this bit, but since we've got you and I'm super interested, what was the progression into the Vegas show? How did that become a thing?
Yeah, so we was on Broadway last year. We did some shows in and out of New York, but also launched 3 cruise ships and did an American tour. A bit of Europe as well, and a couple of English dates, but majority in America. And the ethos was to try and build an audience here, but I never allowed us to dream, and nor did Natasha, that we could perform in Vegas. We'd fly in and stand at the back of the rooms and be inspired by everyone and admired everybody who walked on a Vegas stage. Then we got one night here in Vegas, and even now I've got goosebumps. I couldn't believe it. And I phoned everybody backstage and said, I'm here in Vegas. It's one time, one night. That's it. It's done. And then after that show, I went to a rooftop bar and had a conversation that changed everything. And it was that kind of thing, and it's oversaid and overused, but all the experience, hopefully, and the time we'd spent honing what we do and the opportunity, and we grabbed it with both hands. And it was scary because we agreed to the contract, but hadn't got visas, hadn't sorted anything out, and had to sell everything, change our life. And here we are. But wow, I'm honored and privileged that that conversation happened. And stepping on stage every night in Vegas is truly a dream come true.
Yeah, it must be incredible to be over there. And I mean, the audiences are so different from the UK to America as well. So what was that
also
change?
It changes so often. Like we have the rodeo. So the rodeo was just here. So I walked out to like a room full of cowboys. And then like we have a cement convention here at the moment. So I walked out to a room full of builders. You just never know. We just hit our 300th show yesterday, and we managed to get a lot of the headliners and acts in. And that's lovely because it's that Magic Castle audience where they're there to see magic and they're excited, but you just never know. And it's a great learning curve to do it 6 days a week, every week. You can hone the show and improve and tweak things and change almost on the fly. You can edit it the next day. But yeah, you just never know. We've had audiences that don't speak any English, and we're a 90-minute show of talking a lot. So yeah, learning curve, but it's a good way to hopefully get better.
Well, we've already had a little sneak peek into your repertoire, sort of, in John Morton's episode, because you get a mention from John Morton, who says that he's worked with you with some bits and pieces. So maybe that's going to give us an insight into what your list is going to be. Did you find the list difficult or easy to put together?
Incredibly difficult, and the book's more than the effects. And I tried to choose things that nobody else had. I've listened to every episode, and I love this show. So I've tried to choose things that are a little bit obscure and haven't been picked before. And there are some obvious ones that I took away because they've been chosen previously. But the books, I struggled. The books, I love books. I kind of get lost in them nightly. So to pick a book, I might have to do some honorable mentions. I don't know. I still haven't decided on the book. I've got 4 in front of me, so let's see what happens.
Amazing. Well, if this is your first time listening to the show, the idea is that we are about to whisk Matthew away to his own desert island. When he's there, he's allowed to take 8 books, 8 tricks, 1 book, 1 non-magic item, and banish something onto his island. Now, particulars like who's there, what's there, all that good stuff, we do not mind. It's in Matthew's own imagination. So with that being said, let's go to your desert island now and find out what you put in your first position. What did you put in your first spot?
So I've cheated, but I asked you ahead of time. So I've put in the thing that got me started in magic, really, I guess, and almost the person. So my first thing is the chapters of Marc Spelmann. And the reason for that DVD set and that choice is many years before I even discovered Marc's work, I was searching for magicians. And I found him and I was like, I don't really know what he does, but he looks amazing. And I sent him a message. And I remember vividly being on a train going into London. I was going to watch Cabaret. And I sent Marc this message asking how to do a routine. He had no need to reply to me. I didn't think he would. And within 20 minutes, he sent me about, I don't know, maybe 30 paragraphs of full in-depth help. And he was so kind. And he said, just call me. It's fine. Let's talk it. Let's just go through. And that kind of changed everything. And now we're very blessed. That's come full circle. And in our meet and greet, people say to us, can you help us? And I always remember that moment. And I was with Marc when he got the golden buzzer at the Palladium in London. And I just think he's incredible. And I think that if you want to learn stagecraft, performance, beats, theatricality, you can't really start in a better place. So yes, that was a long answer, but Chapters of Marc Spelman is my first one. It is a masterclass in everything to do with magic.
Yeah, Marc is incredible, and he's always very kind with his time. And that DVD set really is a phenomenal DVD set. There's some incredible tricks on there.
Oh, yeah.
But, Matthew, we're about to be devil's advocate. So
Let's do
from
it.
that DVD, I'm going to
Yeah.
restrict you to just one trick from that DVD.
Okay, I can do
So
that.
if there was just one that you could take, what would that one be?
There's an effect on there called Thief in the Dark that I did for a long time. That's not my choice, but it's brilliant. Also, there's one called Free Cool, I believe, which is a phone. It's genius. If you're in a hotel or a bar or a chip, it's perfect. But I'm looking down here. What, when, and where is my favorite effect? It's a dual reality trick, quote unquote, effect experience, where the audience come up, three people sit on three chairs, and Mark freely and elegantly and beautifully shows all these cards that have different things on, and the audience mix them, and then he just gives them out to the people on stage on the chairs, and he directly reads their mind, but three times, and it progressively gets better. And the method, I think, is as good, if not better, than the effect. There's a moment in there that when Mark teaches it, he kind of throws away. There's a thing of a clipboard, and he says, "Oh, I've done it a few times. It is phenomenal." Yeah, I love it. And if you want to just see how to pace a revelation and how to take time with the audience to make it feel real and believable. And I've had that thing, as many of us have, where you get to a airport or a theater or your local magic club and you've left your bag in the car or whatever it may be. Well, just get 50 bits of paper, write on them, and do 10 minutes of beautiful magic. So yeah, I've done it before. I think it's great. It's called Free Cool, and I think it's disc 3.
Wow, that's a really good memory. You must have watched that a lot.
So I watched it so much, sorry to interrupt you, but I now hold cards left-handed. So all of the card work that I ever do, if you see me on telly or wherever it is, I've just released, there's a thing that we've just filmed that's coming out very, very soon of me doing card magic on telly. I hold cards all left-handed, all my moves are left-handed, and it's definitely Mark's fault because I'm right-handed in everything apart from cards, and I'm convinced it's because I watched Mark so much and I learned how he did everything. That's now how I do the moves.
And how many of these routines have you worked? Have you worked any of these into your shows, your live shows?
Yeah, so I did the Mark Sneak Thief is beautiful, and there's a thing about don't look at a mark, feel a mark that I've always really liked, and that's stuck in my head. So I used to do that on cruise ships a long time ago. There's no current Mark effects or publications in our Vegas show, but his thinking is kind of, it runs through my thought process. So I kind of try and take a step back, and I've almost soaked myself and embraced all of his work so much that I feel like when I put an effect together, there's that little voice on my shoulder of what would Mark do? And then I just think he's great. If you're starting off in magic or if you're an expert pro, you can learn so much from what Mark's been kind enough to share.
Well, a slight plug, all of the tricks that Matthew just mentioned, if you're an Alakazam Unlimited member, which is our streaming platform, all of those tricks are on that platform for you to go and
they're
check
really?
out.
I didn't actually know that. That's
all
great.
There, yeah. So they're all there. If you want to go and check out all of those tricks, including Matthew's actual choice, then go there and check it out. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
And explanation.
Yeah. So
Wow.
we've got I think Thief in the Dark is on there, What, Where, When's on there, and Free Call I think is on there as well. So yeah,
well, that's phenomenal. Definitely subscribe now.
Yeah. They are all phenomenal. But it does lead us nicely. So we've started off with sort of a mentalism parlor piece. So where are we going to go to with number 2? What did you put in your second spot?
I think it's my favorite effect in the world. I've done it in every show for the last decade. My second is Gypsy Balloon by Tony Clark. It gives me all the feels. It makes me feel like magic is real. From doing it and performing it and presenting it, I tell a story beforehand that's a real true story, and I have it on all the screens, which is a blessing, I guess, but just it's beautiful and it's real magic. It's that thing of, I love it when an audience don't know if it's real or if it's not real. And there are some effects, and we can talk about them, where you're doing the effect and it's getting a good reaction, but the audience won't leave and walk away and go, oh, I wonder if that was a real moment. And the Gypsy Balloon feels like it is. When somebody sits next to you and those 3 bits of string roll into a ball and you throw it and it attaches, that's magic 1. Then when you hyper kind of focus on the fact that they could join back together, imagine if they could fuse and lock, then that moment happens. It's gasps and screams and tears. We do it every single show, every single place. I've turned down cruise ship contracts because I couldn't get helium on the boat. I really love it. It's a staple of ours, I think. We did it on Huckabee, and it's not my favorite performance at all. I really don't like how that turned out through our fault. And again, we can talk about that as well, but it's not how we normally do it. And when you just have one dim light and three people on stage, myself, Natasha, and normally a child, but it can be anybody, and they're examining everything from all sides, it's my favorite. And now we get emails and photos of people that have taken the balloon home and framed them, and we've signed it. And yeah, I couldn't do a show without putting Gypsy Balloon in there somewhere.
I think Gypsy Balloon's so interesting as well because normally when we think of the Gypsy thread, everything's very small and very focused. But what the Gypsy Balloon allows you to do is to keep that focus because everything is focused in on that moment, but makes it play so much bigger for a larger audience.
For sure. And it's got that thing where you can see it in a 2,000 seat theatre. And I'm still finding new handlings, which is really weird. But just the other day, I did something differently on the Revelation, and it made it all better. And I work on it constantly because there's moments I learned this with Danny Hunt in a car park, which didn't look suspicious at all. We were kind of hiding in the back of a car park, playing with balloons, as you do. And we worked on a new handling then, and that was probably, I don't know, 15 years ago. And it's been done way over 3,000 times now. And it's my go-to. It feels right in my hands. And I did it 3 times tonight. It's my, if I could only do one trick forever, I think it'd be hard to persuade me to not pick the Gypsy Balloon. So yeah, and Tony Clark's version's great. I've got a few little wrinkles and additions to it, but it all started with his DVD that inspired me.
Yeah, it's a great choice and a stark contrast to your first trick as well. Really, you've got this sort of very serious mentalism piece to this sort of whimsical balloon gypsy thread, which I think is, it's a lovely little contrast. But it leads us nicely onto number 3. So what did you put in your third spot?
So I'm not even sure this is allowed. You can veto this and I can pivot quickly if I need to. This is an effect that's been out for about 2 weeks. So it's very, very rare that an effect comes out that I cannot sleep because I am so excited about. And I re-scripted this for my own kind of verbiage, how I would present it immediately, like the second I saw it. And this trick is Hummingbirds by Luke Jermay. I think, and I love Luke's work, I think it's the greatest thing he's ever created. Even now, I'm so excited. I imagine magic as snapshots. So when I create and construct a show, I see it in pictures. And if you don't know what Hummingbirds is, it's a rising card effect, but the cleanest I've ever seen. And it's got all the moments. It's got a feather that floats up with the cards. It's got a glass dome that encapsulates the cards before they rise. It's pure theatre at a table. And it really changes the essence of close-up magic because you now have close-up theatre. And there's moments in it, like the cleanup is just every beat of it. You can do things that you've never been able to do before, like fan the cards and farrow them and just crazy stuff, borrow the deck. It's gorgeous. It's, as Andy Nyman would say, delicious magic. And I truly, truly, it's going in so after our show, we do a VIP half an hour. They sit with me in a different room and we do close up. It's 100%. I've ordered everything. It's on the way. It's rare that it happens, but I just know, and I've now read the book and I've ordered it and everything, but beautiful magic, truly, truly stunning.
So you mentioned that when you're constructing your shows and stuff, you think about maybe the beats and the moments and how you're gonna put everything together. So in terms of this, it's not with you yet. So
No.
What have you imagined for it? What have you conceptualized in your head? What have you put together?
So I've always loved the dome. There's something about that dome so it's a glass, it's like a bell jar, I guess, but it looks great. There's a thing, and we'll come on to it. I'm not going to reveal it, but my next effect is a full picture effect. When you see it, you instinctively think magician. It gives you the feels, and this has the same for me. So when I do it, I've changed the story a little bit just to kind of keep it fresh. Luke's is perfect, and it doesn't need to be changed in any way. I've just added a few little bits. A wand doesn't feel right in my hands or with my presentation. So I've changed that. I've added a bit of smoke in the table and a few little aesthetic things, but just the ability to borrow a deck. So now because of this effect, everybody in my VIP room has cards on the table, decks of cards that they can keep. And now I can borrow them because it makes it stronger. It amplifies it and evolves it just a little bit more. If they take those cards, now they can't be anything. And I've reset my little station of where I sit, having a little compartment built to make it even cleaner again. And I've added a track. I've got a track made and built. It's being done now that will play in the background. I've got some bird cages that will hang from the ceiling. And on the last revelation, they'll chirp and stuff. So it will loosely feel like Luke's, but hopefully we'll change it enough to feel like the Conjurer's as well. But I really think it's gorgeous. And the method, well, it's not knuckle busting. It's just, let's just concentrate on engaging. Let's hook the audience. Let's get them to care. It's that effect where they all lean forward. And I wouldn't open with it. I wouldn't do it as a middle piece. It's not a bridging effect. It's that whatever you've ended on, guys, you've been incredible tonight. I never do this. Do you want to see one more? Let's dim the lights. Let's lock the doors. Let's put on a vinyl record. Let's pour you all a whiskey. It's special. And I think it should be treated as such. It might be my favorite. I do loads of close-up stuff, but I cannot wait to perform it.
I love the idea of the cards on the seats. I think that's superb. That's great, like giving the audience a deck of cards. But we've recently come back from the session, and Luke performed this there as part of his show to the magicians. Okay. And you're absolutely right. There's a moment, well, there are sort of two moments that stick out, sort of where he introduces the feather, and that part of the performance, everyone sort of starts to lean in at that point because it's introducing a sort of a strange aesthetic to the trick by introducing the feather, but it makes it so much more intriguing. So there's definitely that moment. And then the second moment is where he picks up the deck and then sprays them along the table from a height. There we go.
That's the moment. And I guarantee every magician that watches this, when you watch the revelation of Luke, when you watch the video of him performing this, the book's incredible, but there's a video and he does that drop at the end and he shows you the cleanup while I stood up in the house. I was like, it's phenomenal. And I thought about things like I could, without going too heavy into methods, I could do a feather drop so it could rain feathers at the end. I could get the feather to float into a spectator's hand. There are many things, but every time I think of an addition, I kind of rein it back because the beauty is in the glass and the deck. It doesn't need theatrics as much as my brain would like it to need because it's almost, well, it is perfect as it is. I can't wait to see Luke perform it. Hopefully he's in Vegas and I'll get him to come and do it. He can take over the VIP. It's his. I really love it. It's just great. It's great magic. Maybe a little hummingbird and a blank card that they can sign. So imagine a gold embossed hummingbird, 3 of them, all different colors. And now they sign those and they're the ones that go in the deck and they float. And you've now got the most beautiful giveaway that they can keep forever. I don't know. It's a work in progress, but I can't wait to work on it.
Well, that leads us nicely onto your next one, which you've already teased because earlier on you referenced your next item. So what did you put in your next spot?
It's a blindfold act. It's my go-to. It's the one I think that got us here to Vegas. I love the Gypsy Balloon, but I'm never more comfortable on stage than with a blindfold on. We spoke before we went live and I've done it 3 times tonight. I've got the superhero tape marks here. So I had inspiration from Coup de Bucks and I love the clay and the kind of putting everything on your face so it's impossible. And we fast forward and there's many other people. So Banachek, obviously Richard Osterlin, Darren, of course. Luke's got great stuff. I'm friends with Jerry McCambridge and I've kind of picked his brain till the early hours of the morning. Same as Banachek, same as Frederick. There is something about walking into a room, 10 people, 10,000, doesn't matter. And there is a performer with a corn sack, blindfold, tinfoil, whatever it is on their face. It's immediately engaging. I'm friends with Aaron Crow and he does the wax pour. And one day I'm going to lock him in a room and tell him to give me it. But I do keep subtly hinting. I'm like, Aaron, you know the wax pour? That'd be great in Vegas. So hopefully, I mean, that's beautiful. Aaron gets a candle and pours wax in his eyes. And then he puts the bandage around, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. But yeah, just being on stage with a blindfold is definitely my happy place. And when we came to Vegas, I was nervous because we'd flown in before and seen all the shows. And at this time, we knew nobody. So I saw Banachek do a beautiful blindfold. Jerry is like the king of A, mentalism, and B, blindfolds here in Vegas. And C, Frederick does a great blindfold. So I met all of these people and invited them to the show and said, look, would you mind just watch it? And if you don't like it, I'll take it out. We did private shows for them before we went live. So if they didn't like it, we'd take it out. And Frederick didn't see it, but I spoke to him, and it's fine. It's different enough. But we change it. It's not a Q&A. I love Q&A, but we don't do it because Jerry does. But just being taped up, and it's the one thing, not that we have any quote-unquote magician foolers, but we don't use a normal method. There is no down anything. So Magic Live was my favorite time because I'd have queues of people that would wait after the VIP outside the room to go the blindfold. Can I buy you a coffee? Can we just 10 minutes? Just come with me. So people have tried to buy it and all the fun stuff. And it's not me being great. It's not my method. It's just a method that I found in a book a very long time ago. But yeah, the blindfold. What a beautiful piece of magic.
So I've got a twofold question for you.
Yeah.
Number one, when it comes to blindfolds, what made you decide on the blindfold that you've chosen? Because there's so many methods out there now. Why did you go for the version that you've gone for, and what is that? So that's question number one. And question number two is, would you be able to share a moment that really resonates with you and your audiences when you're doing your blindfold act?
Yeah, of course. So now we use many methods for our blindfold. There is like 6 different things going on at once, which helps a lot. There's things everywhere happening, which helps me in every way. My blindfold currently in the Vegas show is 2 sticky poker chips, and legitimately sticky. I hand them out. Both sides have double-sided tape on. So I give them out, I say, check them. There's no switch. They're the same ones. They're in play the whole time. And the reason for the tape is I've just never seen anybody else do it. And I wanted to add my own little wrinkle onto them. So I say these are going to stick my eyes closed. So now if anybody has the even notion or preconceived idea that I can see, well, I can't. So the chips go on my eyes and they push them as hard as they can. And there's a few nice little lines there. And so now they can see them really stuck. And we have gaffer tape. And I have 3 bits of tape that go on in the normal way, kind of 2 diagonally and 1 across, because I want to kind of lead them down the little path a bit. And I say, but wait, there's a roll of gaffer tape actually on the table. Let's use more. You have to know that I can't see. So then I just start wrapping it around my head. So now from the top of my lip to my forehead is just wrapped in tape. And I go, but wait, maybe I can see. Maybe there's a way, somehow, some way. I don't know how, but you might have a little method. So I don't say that, that's not the script, but that's the kind of premise. Then I have a bandage or a gauze. Now, I was in Aladdin a few years ago, 5, and as I was flying on the magic carpet, legitimately, a piece of wood hit me in the face, ripped off my tear duct. So now I have wires that hold my eye kind of in place, and I've got fake hair, whatever. The glasses hide the scar, and the lights help, so does the makeup. But I tell this story, and that's kind of what I think allows me to do the blindfold, because it's legitimate. So I sit there and I talk about having 2 cups on my eyes and a bandage around my head. And for a moment, I thought I would never get to perform again. And I realized when that blindfold was, maybe I would have to perform for the rest of my life with a blindfold attached to my head. So that allows the bandage. So now we wrap the bandage, we fully mummify me. So I just have my mouth, and then they check everything. I lean back and they look under. I emphasize where I could see. I'm like, look here, check by my nose, etc. So I'm fully, they can put their hands over my eyes, whatever they want. I turn around, I go to the other side of the stage. I've sat in a cage before that's lifted up, whatever. So that's the blindfold that I use. And I try and make it as theatrical as I can. I want it to look ridiculous. If you see somebody in a straitjacket and they're not getting out believable, then why go in a straitjacket? So it has to look good. So, and that's all coup de bucks and the other people that I mentioned, plus many, many more. And the moment that I love is I get them to hold my hand, and it sounds really weird. The first thing that I do is an introduction with colors. And I say, look, I'm going to read you. It's not about the audience for a minute. It's just me and you. Forget there's 1,000 people here. Just hold my hand. Take a deep breath in and just sink into the moment. I'm going to somehow read the colors that you've got in front of you, just from your body language. And we have this lovely private personal moment. And there's some things that happen in this moment that lead to later in the show. But I get them to reveal a secret with the blindfold on. And as they whisper the secret, the audience hears it because it picks up on my mic. But people, I'm not going to in any way compare our show to Derek Nogardio's in and of itself, because that is, I think, my favorite magic show. But that moment where every night people cry, we have it probably 4 or 5 times a week. People gasp and scream and run out of the showroom because the dynamic shifted. Everything's changed. It's now insular and I'm now insecure. I've told the story. My glasses are off. Like, the protection's gone. The bandage is here. It's all raw. And they're with me on this journey. And before we get to revelations and things, I get a secret to be told and whispered, but loud enough that we're all now in on it. And it becomes this really personal, private, poignant moment that I think is a great bridge into much more hard-hitting things with the blindfold on my head. And there's many things like that, but yeah, we've done it thousands of times, and it's the thing that not falling off the stage, all of the bits that you pick up along the way.
Well, it sounds incredible.
The longest answer ever.
No, that sounds absolutely incredible. I think that sounds great, and I think the layers that you've put, I mean, literally and not literally, there is just, yeah, it sounds absolutely incredible, and does lead us very nicely onto number 5. So what did you put in your 5th spot?
It's the first effect I ever performed on any stage, and it is a chair routine. The chair routine is beautiful for performers that travel because it packs so flat. And there's many amazing versions of this. The first one that I saw was David Berglas, but obviously that leads into Enigma and Darren, and Andy Gladwin's got amazing, there's so many good chair routines. But it's a demonstration in psychology, I think, and it involves 4 people. It's or 5, however many you want. You can do it sitting down or standing up, even though that's kind of counterintuitive because of the chairs, but it still works on pads or whatever you want to stand on. And Mark Paul's a very, very good person to learn this from. And sorry, names will keep jumping to me that I've learned over the years. And everything that I'm saying, I should preface by this. This is all because standing on the shoulders of giants is so true. I have been inspired by everyone to create, hopefully, what we do. So I love that it is a demonstration in crowd control, in the trick and outside of it. So it's like Sneak Thief, I guess. You have to be good with an audience. You have to learn how to listen and talk and have control. That audience management is so important. And there's quite a lot of stuff happening without an effect. There's no magic normally until the end of a chair routine. So how do you make that interesting and engaging? How do you punctuate the beats and the moments? And it's really fun. We open the show with it, but it can go anywhere. Darren closed with it. I've seen it in the middle. We open. But it's just fun. It's uplifting. It's upbeat. You can do it with kids. You can do it with adults. Everybody enjoys it. We've added loads to ours. It's got like 5 different effects happening. But the end effect with behind the chairs and the revelations is always going to get a great sort of kicker reaction.
It's one of those, I think we've spoken about it on the podcast before, it's sort of a counterintuitive thing, right? Because a lot of the time, everything is inevitably going to play out. It has to play out that way, but there's a missed logic by the audience where they don't quite connect those dots. And our job is to blur the lines when it comes to that logic and what the audience are understanding, right? So with your one, how did you go about taking all of those bits from, Berglas and Marc Paul and Andy Gladwin? How did you put all of those pieces together into your chair test?
Well, we change it often. So it changes from place to place, theatre to theatre. We did it here at Christmas. We did a full Christmas show. And I had the audience wear hats. So the routine would begin with a table, 20 Christmas objects, very David Berglas. They would come up and they would choose 4 of them, whatever they want to have. They're their gifts, they're their presents. Free choice, take them, go and sit in a seat. I've added things, again, not method heavy, but I know what seat they're going to sit in ahead of time. So this now allows me to walk to the front of the stage, get them to close their eyes. I will show the audience the number that they're going to sit in before they sit in it. I say, open your eyes, thank you for trusting me, go and have a seat. And they sit in that chair. It's a lovely little plausibility moment. I think it makes it feel more real. They sit down with their item. I go, great, we've got to make this more random, right? This is not random enough. So put your items in a little stand above the chair. So there's a little kind of stand that they put their item on. So let's say it's Santa, Rudolph, I don't know, a Christmas tree and an ornament. Great. I then say we need hats. It's Christmas, right? Party hats. Let's do that. So now, under everybody in the audience's chairs, there is a party hat, all of different sorts. So we have a Santa hat and a top hat, whatever. Now, they choose them. So they go and get their hats. All Christmas music's playing, a disco ball, everything's happening, graphics on the screens. So now we have 4 items and 4 hats on the people with the items. I then say, this sounds overly convoluted, but I promise in real time it plays fine. So I say, good. Now I'm going to write down 4 numbers on 4 envelopes. Actually, if I did it, you might think I could change it in some weird way. So I get a kid. The kid stands on a chair, a light hits the kid, and with a crayon, the kid writes 1, 3, 4, 2, any order that he wants. I put these on a bulldog clip, and they float up above the audience. So now these envelopes are hanging in full view, master prediction style, but they're there. They never go out of sight. Great. Tash now gives everybody a number. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we say we're going to play a game, a simple game. You got 3 turns to stand up, move around, change chairs, change items, change hats, change numbers. Do whatever you like. It doesn't matter. Just do it randomly. So now all the music starts. We had a Santa that danced with them, whatever. They move around, they sit down, we do it again, and we do it again. Perfect. I then get the kid to do this magical gesture, and the envelopes go down to his hand, and he unclips them off the clip. He walks on stage and hands them out. So 2 goes to number 2, 3 to number 3. It's not in our hands, it's in the kids' hands. I say to everybody, imagine it is Christmas Day right now. Open your envelopes. As they're opening them, Tash takes the boards back, allows their hands to be free, and they open it up. Inside each of them is the ornament above. So it's fine. So just a nice little moment. And I go, that's great. But remember the hats. The hats are the thing, right? So then they stand up, they go behind the chair, and the hats have spelled out the word hope. So HOPE, but we get the revelation. So hat, 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 hat. That gets the applause. I should have mentioned, I, as well as getting the items chosen, have thrown out our conveniently cut pack of cards. Someone looks at a word, the word is hope. They remember the word, lock it in their mind. As the hats are revealed, I say one more thing, stand up, what was your word? Hope. Perfect, because, and then we do the revelation. They keep the hats, they keep the gifts, the kid gets a present, and everybody goes home happy. That was a lot, but it condenses to 6 minutes. It's fun, upbeat, and there's loads of magic, and it feels quite theatrical.
Wow, that just sounds incredible. And what I really love about that, well, there's lots that I love about that, but I really like the idea of putting the envelopes on the bulldog clips and raising them up, because that's taken a piece which is already big. I mean, we talk about being able to fill a stage. It's incredible. But one thing that I've noticed a lot, certainly in performances and in magic shows, is we tend to fill the stage horizontally, but we don't tend to think about it vertically. And there's so much that we can play with above us, not just either side of us. So I really love that you've added that moment in. And the idea of the party hats and everything, I think that's great. And you say that's your opener.
It was the opener for Christmas. Well, actually, it was a second effect in the show. We have a big confabulation thing that starts the show. We go on a journey, a story together, and the audience can legitimately choose an adventure. And let's say they say we're going to go across the oceans. All of the screens change to oceans, and ocean sound plays, and you get the smell of the water. So that's how we start the show, and then we pivot to the chair. It's not currently in it, but it was in the Christmas, and we might bring it back at some point. A top tip for the cherry team that I kind of do, and it might not help, but it could. I always end either on my own with the audience in the chairs, like back in their seats, or with them. Because what can happen, and I've seen it a few times, is you end on the last ta-da, and then you have a really weird moment of thank you, make your way back to your seats, and the routine kind of plummets rather than lifts. So why not get the 4 spectators to stand in a line with you and do a bow? And now in the applause of the bow, you send them back to their seats, or send them back, then reveal the hope, or whatever it is for you, and that's where you get the spike again. Just because a chair routine is a weird one where it can, like Darren did it with McFly, There's many ways, obviously, but I think it has to have that last little pulse to keep the energy as high as the middle of the effect.
Do you want to become a magician? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Alakazam Unlimited. Alakazam Unlimited is literally the Netflix for magicians. You learn loads of tricks on there and they are so good. Let me show you exactly what you learn. On Alakazam Unlimited, you learn tricks for beginners. Check this out. Tricks that if you've never done a magic trick before, it's not a problem because they are so easy to perform. We teach you card tricks on there, but not card tricks that you would have seen your granddad or your uncle perform. I'm talking professional level card tricks. We're going to teach you coin tricks. So if you're down the pub and your mate hands you some change, you can do tricks with their coins. Not only that, we also teach you how to read minds. Mind reading has blown people away forever, and you can harness that power. Build confidence. Magic is great for building confidence, whether you're 5 or 105. Magic is the perfect confidence builder. It gets you out around people having fun. It could even be a new career. You never know that. It's a great side hustle as well. If you perform at events, weddings, corporate events, or just at your local restaurant, you can get extra money for performing magic. You can even impress your grandkids. So many people come into the shop and they want to be that magic granddad. They want to have that extra something, a little bit of time they can spend with their grandkids or their children. Magic is the perfect hobby for that, and we teach you tricks that are great for that. Also, win free drinks. Honestly, I've lost count the amount of free drinks I've won just from being able to do a couple of tricks. Not only that, the great thing of Unlimited is get off. You can cancel any time. There you go. You haven't got to sign up for like a year, anything like that. You can cancel any time. It's a monthly contract. Not only that, 7-day free trial. And the price of it, drum roll please, £4.99 per month. Less than £5 a month, you get access to over 200 magic tricks taught by professional magicians, okay? Unreal magic tricks of all skill levels, of all abilities. You can cancel any times. It's £4.99 a month, and like I said, there's tricks on there for every single one of you. So if you want to become a magician, if you want to learn one trick, if you want to just impress your friends, your colleagues, your pub mates, check out Alakazam Unlimited right now, alakazam.co.uk, or click the link below. You will not regret it, trust me. It'll be the best £5 a month you ever spent. It's literally less than a pint. Unbelievable.
Absolutely incredible. So there you go. If anyone wants to do a chair routine, you've got the advice that you need for the ending there. But it does bring us nicely on to number 6. So what did you put in your 6th spot?
My 6th spot is from Andy Nyman's lecture notes. I think it was in his book Bulletproof as well, and it is called The Burning. And the burning is, well, just, it's incredible. Andy is one of those people that if he releases something, I don't even need to watch a trailer. I don't read the ad copy. It doesn't matter. I just want to get lost in his thoughts. He is sensational. And The Burning is basically, and it completely fooled me, you have a Hunger Games style bowl that's got 1,000 matches in. Already I love it because you get the picture. And you then get an audience member to come up, and this works close up or stage, and you say to them, take out 3 matches, any 3 that you want, and mark one of them. So get a Sharpie and mark the end. They do that. You then say, put all 3 in your hand and shake them up, which they do, and you say, take it out. Now you have a lovely moment that if they take out theirs, you go, you're incredible at this, let's try it again. Then you do it one more time. If they get a random one, which happens obviously more than it doesn't, you say it's difficult, isn't it? And that's a 1 out of 3. You then get them to put their match inside a box of other matches, and they see it, it's completely clean, and you shake it up just to mix them. And you go, look, you can do it. They pour their matches now visibly. There's nothing to hide. All of the matches now go in the bowl, and you can have a lovely moment where you say, and you can see yours in there, right? And they say they can. Great. You then close your eyes or get someone to stand behind your head, blindfold if you want to, and you now do this incredible. Your hand goes into the matches, and you're just talking, I do it about a needle in a haystack, and you're dropping matches through your hands, and I get the audience to count from 5 to 0. So everyone's counting, and there's like this chant going on, and on 0 I go now, and I catch, it looks like I catch their match in the air, and I go, there's no way. And they look, and now their signed match out of the 1,000 in the bowl, hands are clean. There's no TTs. There's none of that. It's phenomenal. It's a perfect Darren trick that Darren didn't do. And it's Andy's thinking of simplicity and practicality and story. And it's just great because it feels, well, it is real. It's an effect that you're doing what you're saying that you're doing. And we have a way that I know what hand the match is in, which is a very lovely intro. So I can go, it's difficult, isn't it? Put it in your hand. Let's try this a few times and then we can get it that way. It also would bridge perfectly into something like lit. I thought for the longest time of putting an impossible object under the matches, and at the end of the show, setting it all on fire. And then the live camera picks up the huge flame. And then when the ashes die, the impossible object is now in the big jar. There's many ways it can go and many places that you can take it, but it's truly stunning. Andy's phenomenal. And this is an example of why I think, and it got lost in that book, and I love doing it.
Well, I remember getting Bulletproof many years ago when it first came out and loving that trick in it. And then
Right.
you're correct. So it was recently republished in 11 years later, which was his most recent lecture notes,
Right.
along with a phenomenal sneak thief with mobile phones.
Yeah, really
And
good.
you mentioned that it's the trick that Darren didn't do. He actually did something very, very similar with a coffee bean. So
Yes.
he had the coffee bean sign and mixed amongst all the others. And he says, I've got like this photographic memory. And then he plucks out the signed one, which feels very samey. But what I love about that choice is something that you said earlier on. You mentioned that there are moments of believability. And you have these like little moments sprinkled throughout your performances. And this is exactly that idea. It's a moment of it that could be real. That
sure.
was a skill-based trick. So when you've performed it for people, the feedback after, do they think it's magic? Do they think it's skill? What are the reactions of that sort of routine?
I only do it in the middle, so I don't end on it, I don't start on it. It's normally like a core effect. So we kind of move past it. People talk about it very often and say, I love the match. I give them a little book that says The Conjurer's a match book, and we put it in there, and they keep it as a takeaway, a souvenir. But I normally get, I love the match routine, or somebody will send me an Instagram photo of them holding it. I don't actually think, completely opposite to the Hummingbirds, I don't think it needs all the pomp and circumstance. I have someone stand behind me and hold my hands over my eyes just because I'm a little bit obsessed. But Tash does it as well. So it's quite nice that Tash will sit down and now she will be the one that gets blindfolded. And I will stand at the other side of the room and have my hand out. And it's just a moment. It's just fun. It just feels beautiful and there's nothing to worry about. So if you're listening or watching this thinking, well, I've just started, I don't really know technical knuckle busting moves, great, don't worry about that. Let's get a hook. Let's get the audience to care. Let's get a narrative. Like, I honestly think the magic should be performed up here and not down here. Don't get me wrong. I love table card magic. Phenomenal. But if you watch Shin Lim, he's here and he's doing the magic to you in the camera. Very rarely is he down on the table. And this is a perfect explanation of how to learn an effect like this. You're here. Get a beautiful bowl, get 1,000 matches, and just perform it and have fun. And it's also a great trick. So how can you make it better in your own performance? Andy's is the best for him. But could you change it? Could it be a different item or a different object? Has it got to be a bowl? Could it be a bathtub? Could it be bigger? Like, how can you transition that to feel like your own? And it's a really nice little exercise, and all thanks to Andy.
So anyone with a spare bathtub, work it into your show.
So you can buy now cocktail bathtubs that you'd put champagne in, and a bottle of champagne would fit into this bathtub, and normally you'd put a little rubber duck on top. And I have no trick for this, but I've got one backstage, and I keep thinking, it's a picture. If there's a playbill or a theatre program and the Conjurers are in it, and I'm holding a bathtub and it's smoking and there's matches in it, I'm invested. So yeah, how can we tweak these things and make them our own? But Andy's a phenomenon.
Well, I think that's a great choice and leads us very nicely into the tail end of your 8 tricks. So you've got 2 more left. What did you put in your 7th spot?
Well, there's a little bit of a story with this one. So I said at the very start of this, our main favorite thing about being in Vegas is the people. And I genuinely, truly, truly mean it. I was sad that we didn't know magicians. I had no magic friends. When I wanted to have late night Zooms and conversations, I had no one to talk to. Tash and I would be in the car all the time, or planes or trains. And it sounds glamorous, but the stage is the fun part. All the rest is the work. And I went to the Session Convention, and it was the first one that I'd ever gone to in London. And this was not long ago, maybe like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. I think it was one of their first ones, so maybe a bit longer than that. And as I went in, I saw Luke and Josh and everybody, Mark, Paul, and I just wanted to talk to them. I didn't know how. I had no confidence, none. I didn't know, I couldn't break even now I feel it's weird. Like, because these are people that I admire and inspire to be like, and I've learned the favorite things that I get to do. I'm so blessed to every day perform, and it's because of people that I'm now standing with. So I went in and I didn't talk to anyone. I sat in the coffee shop all day. And it was the year where David Berglas he was doing a private little show. He was the guest of honor. And he walked by me. And now we meet lots of people and it's great. But when David walked by, it was like I just seen Michael Jackson. I couldn't believe it. He is, I mean, so much, maybe all of this I've just spoke about, he's in there somewhere. And I went and sat in the venue and I watched a guy called Vincent Hadan, and he did a thing called mental wine tasting, and it floored me. It completely floored me. And I was sitting next to Mark Paul, and I think Mark Paul is amazing. And he was 2 chairs away from me. And as I watched this wine tasting thing, I just let out. I couldn't help it. I didn't mean to. I just went, wow, I love magic. And I looked at Mark, and he said, so do I. And it was the first time I had this connection with a magician. And I sat there for it sounds so stupid, so I apologize. It's not even a good story, but like, it was kind of a bit of validation. And it gave me a little bit of confidence and courage to go and speak to people. And now, well, this is why I love it here. So every post that you might see the Conjurers do, it looks like we have to sell the show, but just know that I'm blessed for everyone who's listening to this right now, so thank you. But wine tasting, you have 4 glasses and there's nothing to see, nothing to find. You just say to 4 people, think of your favorite drink, whatever you want. It doesn't matter. Write it down, scrunch it up, drop it in these wine glasses. Then he mixes the glasses up, or you can mix them up. He walks away and he goes, right, I'm going to tell you what it is. He holds up the glass and he swirls it around as if he's doing a wine tasting. And he then opens it up, sneak thief style, and goes, pina colada. That's yours, correct? Obviously, you throw in some presentation there, but the premise is you now give them the drink. And you do it 3 times, and it builds an impossibility. Then the last one, sneak thief style, you say, hold it, put it in between your hands like this. And I hold the glass as a connection, and you reveal the drink. And now we have it where I get the drink Tash takes it under a thing, but you never see it, and now the drink is in the glass, so they can keep the drink. But the reason I love that trick so much is you fast forward 5 years, and Tash and I headlined at the Chicago Magic Lounge, and there was loads of magicians in, and we were partying backstage, and we were part of the crew. I signed the wall and was just happy to be there. And Kayla Drescher does that trick at the Chicago Magic Lounge, a beautiful version. She's added some stuff, which is great. And I looked around me, and I'm now sitting in a booth with like 10 magicians. And it was such a full circle moment. It's an incredible trick, but I'm just very grateful. So that was where the first time I ever thought, you know what, I can maybe be friends with these people. And I'm very glad that I am.
Well, I think that's a great story, because I think everyone listening, or I certainly hope everyone listening, can relate to a moment like that in their career or in their life. I'm fairly sure that we've all at one point had that moment where someone says hello to us, or we say hello to someone who we've spent years and years with and admired the way that you have. And I love the idea of just both of you. It almost sounds like a sitcom, in absolute, like a magic sitcom.
Right.
Of you stood there going, God, I just love magic. And then Mark Paul going, me too. Yeah.
Yeah, and like, he won't remember it. I don't think he might. I don't know. But I walked out just feeling, I don't know, that I'd like achieved something, because I was always, we'd work so hard on all of these effects, and we'd do shows and they'd be really, hopefully good, I think. But nobody would know. Nobody would ever know. Nobody knew what the countries were doing. So that was the first time that I thought, oh, well, maybe there's now somebody in magic that knows us. Fast forward to 10 years later, and now we're here talking to you. So it means a lot.
And what I love about that particular trick as well, again, is something that you alluded to a little bit earlier on. You mentioned with the whole bathtub thing about taking that trick or that premise and then making it your own. And that's sort of what's gone on here. It's like a sneak thief routine, but added to glass. And then Andy has taken mobile phones and added it to mobile phones. So what I love is that maybe after exploring it, someone's now going to come up with something even stranger. Maybe a version in bathtubs with bath bombs.
Yes, but like, as you said it, how cool is that? You have 4 bathtubs and they're all bubbling, and you pour in water, but it looks like it's smelly kind of bath liquid, or you put in the bath bombs, whatever you want, and they can choose them off a shelf, and you've just reinvigorated and revitalized this beautiful routine. And now maybe the whole audience write down their favorite scent, whatever. Like, this is why I love magic, because of, I would never have got to that without this conversation. And if we all talk, magic gets better.
And you'll be pleased to know that Alakazam will be stocking bathtubs from next week after listening to this.
I'll perform it here in Vegas. We'll sell it. That'd be great.
Perfect.
Coming soon.
So that leads us to number 8. So what was in your final spot?
All right. As I turn my notes around, try to be subtle, but it made a noise. I am going to pick the Kevin James floating rose. And thank you, good night. No, so the reason for the Kevin James floating rose is I first came to Vegas many years ago, and I sat in the MGM Grand. Tash and I didn't have a lot of money, and I remember looking at the David Copperfield meet and greet and being like, I have to meet him. Like, and we were trying to work out how we could do it, and I just had to do it. So anyway, we go in, and Chris Kenner came up to us. And Chris was like, you can sit in a better seat if you want. I'll just move you. And I was like, stunned. And maybe he heard, I don't know how he heard, but whatever, doesn't matter. We managed to sit on this seat. And midway through the show, David performed the floating rose to us. And for 4 minutes, I was just a 5-year-old child seeing the boy running out of the snow or whatever it may be, hearing that voice. And now I think I can say I'm friends with David, and we've sat many times and had many sushis. And that moment is maybe my special moment in all of magic, because he didn't know me at all then. He had no idea who we were. And I just got to see David perform. And he's the greatest of all time. There is nobody alive today that walks on a stage and gives me the feeling that he does. Every magician, I think, should go and watch David's show. He's the greatest. In 100 years' time, you see the wall behind me, there's everybody on it. David will be above, maybe beyond all of them. So anyway, long story, but it made me have all the feels. It made me fall in love with magic a little bit more. And watching it this close, what an effect. It's a piece of tissue, and you can do it to 3,000 people. Like, how cool is that? And the method's relatively not simple, but if you work on it, you can get it. The first time I did it with extra burn flash paper, nearly burnt the house down. So make sure you get the right one. That was an error, but it's really great. And Kevin's a master of making things look beautiful. And if David does it, just learn it. Just learn it so you know it, because one day, someday, you might get a gig where you think, oh, it's the perfect effect for this moment, adding the smell to the rose, producing the rose at the end. Hasn't got to be a rose. It could be anything. It could be a little dove, and then you produce a dove, whatever. Just Yeah, it feels like Disney magic in front of you. It's like CGI, but out of the mind of Kevin James. So yeah, I love it. Kevin James Rose is my number 8.
That's really interesting as well, because like we said, we've done over 52 of these now, and not many people, I think we've had one or two, have mentioned a trick that they love just because that was the trick that made them fall in love with magic, or that was the thing that made them feel magical. I remember being a kid going to Spain and seeing a magic show there and seeing the buzzsaw illusion for the first time. And just being absolutely blown away. And there was a woman next to me screaming, freaking out, saying, put him back together. Strangely, a few years later, I went back and she said the same thing. How bizarre.
Strange, right?
It's really odd. But yeah, those moments, those tricks, it's really interesting that in everyone's sort of ultimate list of tricks, only a handful of people have said, this is the one that I would take because it made me feel magic again.
Yeah, there's that feeling of, again, watching David through a TV screen. He's the king of captivation and the king of stories. All of my theatricality and storytelling is because once upon a time, I watched David Copperfield and thought, how can I even get to like 20% as good as you? And to be a meter away from me and telling the story, just here. And I forgot about the other 2,000 people, however many's in that room, and just sunk into, it doesn't matter if it's David Copperfield or David that works in the shop near you, just make magic mean something. And we're so blessed. All of us, everybody in this community, we get to make people have memories that will last a lifetime. And what a privilege and what an honor. And the Rose effect, and it's Kevin's thinking, it's his beautiful brilliance that made this happen. Just, it's a memory that person's always going to share. And it's the perfect routine for their reaction will amplify to the audience, because you're never going to get someone next to you and make something float. And then after it's floated, it animates. Then after it's animated, it turns into the object and they can keep it. They're going to freak out. And when they freak out, the audience freaks out, and it has that domino ripple. It has that effect. And I don't even know if everybody should perform it, because I don't think it works for everybody's style. But I think everyone should learn it. I don't perform coins that often, but I learn coins because I can use a coin move with a thumb writer or whatever it may be. So yeah, it's really, really beautiful. And I'll never forget that moment. And I didn't mean to, as I said it, I kind of wanted to take it back. I didn't mean to throw David's name out like, oh, David, but like, I've just been really, really blessed. And that moment will always mean the world to me.
I think just a little honourable mention, thinking about what you were just saying, there was a great effect quite a few years ago now on the Illusionist Loops DVDs. So they had a series of DVDs that came out. I think there were 3 or 4 of them, and they had different artists basically put incredible tricks with loops on. And on one of them was the Danny Garcia episode. So it was a whole DVD of, as soon as I say Danny Garcia, you know it's going to be amazing.
It made me smile straight away.
Yeah, but he's got this wonderful routine where he borrows a note and he says, think of an insect that flies, and they say a butterfly, and this note just starts to slowly morph into a butterfly, and then he sort of balances it on his fingers, and then it becomes alive and it starts to flap its wings on its own. And then he takes it.
Intro to Hummingbirds.
Yeah, you should check it out. It's an amazing trick. And then he lets go of it and it floats. So the idea of, at the end, then taking that note, placing your hands over it, and when you lift it up, it's a real butterfly that flies away. That would be an incredible ending.
Isn't magic the best thing in the world? Like,
it would be great.
We literally get to do this for a job. Like, we get to make butterflies appear and things float and fly. Yeah. That's a great effect. Literally, after this, I'm doing that. Let's go catch some butterflies.
Let's go. Well, I think that's a great list. We've got a really diverse mix there. You've gone all the way from, chapters of Marc Spelmann, Gypsy Balloon, Hummingbirds, Blindfold Act, Chair Routine, The Burning. We've got Mental Wine Tasting and Floating Rose. You've got a nice mix of sort of mentalism, larger pieces. You've got some, like with the Gypsy Balloon and Hummingbird, sort of nice sentimental pieces in there. I think it's a really lovely mix of different items.
Thank you. I think you could make a show. Out of all of those 8, I'm not saying it'd be the best show, but you could structure something. And a lot of them I try to choose and pick because they can be pivoted. You can put your own spin on the majority of them. And if you did, you've got 8 breathtaking pieces of magic.
But that does lead us on to the first ever banishment from our industry. So none of us are sure how this part of the podcast is going to go from here on in. So this is going to be really interesting. So what would you banish from our industry? What is the thing that if you were to bury it and it be gone forever, it would be gone?
Well, I'm playing it safe. So I think we're all going to agree. This is not even like when you see a Facebook post, I'm going to use the emotion box as the sort of explanation here. But when you see an emotion box and the sides are 5 inches big, it drives me mental. Even now, it's annoying me. Like, let's not buy fake magic. Let's not put fake magic into the world. Let's nobody do it. It doesn't matter. If you can't afford the trick, don't do the trick. Find another trick. Let's not, wow, this could be a rant. Let's not buy things. Master prediction chest. Let's not get one that's got a base that's a foot big. Like, what are we doing? What are we thinking? And if you see them on Facebook, let's form a group, a little magic society, and let's go find these people. No, I hate it when I see we do a version of the emotion box and it's Natasha's trick in the show and she's added so much stuff to it. And when I see it for like $300 made out of MDF and it's spray painted white, it's not fooling anyone. And if somebody buys that and does it, well, you've ruined it for all of us. If you're going to do the floating rose and you do it with rope, I'm not sure why you would, but let's imagine that for whatever reason you couldn't get invisible thread. Well, you've just ruined that moment. Like, you've just spoiled that trick for all of us. So let's not buy fake magic and let's not do things against how the creator envisioned it. That doesn't mean don't make it better, don't change it, don't tweak it. Of course you should, however you see fit. But what I'm saying is, if it's a detriment of the trick, don't do it. If you see someone's routine and you go, oh, that's good, I can make it, great. Buy it, then make it. Because then you can learn how the person that's put weeks, months, years of their life into this effect wants it to be done. Then when you've made it how they want, change it. Of course you should. But don't be like, oh, I saw this trailer, I can do it. Well, let's buy it. Let's not buy a fake copy of it. And let's do it properly. So that's kind of 2 things, but my overarching point is let's not buy fake magic. I know it might look good and you can throw it in a show, but just don't. Because it's not going to look good. It's going to look awful. Everybody that's got a fake master prediction system, just burn it. Like, it's not, and there's many methods and we could talk about 100 of them right now. There's many methods of confabulation that don't need that box. And that box is brilliant if you get the real one. And if you don't, let's do something different. Let's be creative. Phone a magician. Talk to someone. Like, yeah, it drives me mad. I see it all the time, and I think it's really sad that so much stuff that we love and don't sleep over is just given away or bodged together, and people buy it.
Well, and even, we've seen a massive, massive rise over sort of the last 10 years of the rip-off websites where they will take just the instructions to the trick, post them and for a ridiculously discounted price, and then sell the secret on without the prop, which has never really made sense to me anyway. But it really causes a lot of difficulty in lots of different ways, though, especially for creators, because you would end up getting an email from someone saying, look, I've bought your trick, but this is wrong, and this is wrong, or it's poor quality. And then when they send you a picture through of the product, you realize it's absolutely not your product, and someone has just scanned them and then reproduced their own version of it. But it does seem rife at the moment.
And it's so sad because it's all of the moments that people don't think about. So if we was to sit right now and dissect my Gypsy Balloon, there's like 15 moments in there. But if you just watched me do it on a fake, whatever it may be, site or whatever, I'm not giving you any of the things that actually makes it beautiful. And therefore, when you go and do it, it's not going to be beautiful because you haven't got the 15, 20 years that I've invested into it. So, and that's the same for every creator, everyone that sells something. If you buy Kevin James's Floating Rose, well, watch and learn and do as Kevin James teaches. And that's kind of a sort of separate segue branching tree point, but it all kind of comes under the same umbrella as let's just make magic good. And if we're going to do a magic trick, please let's not buy. I know it's tempting. I know sometimes you'll see something and go, oh, I can do an origami for $1,000 or whatever. But if the base is this big and the swords, let's just do good magic always. And that's kind of the end of the Matthew Pomeroy lecture.
Well, I think that's going to be a good segment going forward. I feel confident after that it'll be a good thing to raise debate. But earlier on, at the very beginning, you said that you found the book the most difficult to pick. So let's go into it. What did you go into? You can have honourable mentions, don't forget.
Okay. Well, my first book is my favourite book in all of magic, but I feel a bit unfair because it's out of print. I don't think you can get it. So my favorite book of all of magic is the David Berglas book. It's just phenomenal. It's The Mind and Magic of David Berglas by David Britland. It's got everything. Imagine right now that the greatest mind reader prior to Darren, so the one before Darren, an amazing mind reader, released everything. It's got his piano vanish. It's got his blindfold drive. I did a podcast previously and I was asked my Mount Rushmore and I've regretted what I said every day since because I didn't mention David. And he's definitely on there, maybe at the top. Him, the two Davids, they're there, Berglas and Copperfield. His book's incredible, but it is out of print and it's very expensive. So if you find it at a magic convention, buy it and grab it and hold on to it. But I don't know if that's fair because it's very hard to get, but it's great. So that was my honourable mention. Also, Morgan and West book, phenomenal. Let me just reel a few off. Morgan and West book, incredible. I just love them. I think they're so, so good and talented and their ideas are perfection. Piff's book is great. It's really great. Even things like how to use a GoPro and the fisheye lens and the tricks are fine, but don't do them because they're his. But make your own versions from what he teaches. But just the expertise is brilliant. But I've got honestly a list of books, but I think I'm going to go with The Method to My Madness by Jonathan Goodwin. That's my book. And it's available now on his site. There's only 300, I believe, and they will sell out. But that guy, he's really great. He's really, really great. And he's got so many incredible ideas, and I really love him. And I think that he's been so kind to Natasha and I in many, many ways. And his book should be read, and he should be listened to. And yeah, he's brilliant. So yeah, The Method to My Madness. Everyone buy it. Just buy it just because you should. The tricks are amazing. His thought process, his story, his journey, the pictures are incredible. It's got everything in there. And he's one of the good guys in magic, I think. That'd be my choice. And I would love it if everybody bought one.
I think what's interesting about the choices that you've just said, and maybe you've not thought about this, maybe you have, but you went for Piff's book, David Berglas's book, and Morgan and West's book. All of those, and Jonathan Goodwin, of course, but all of those are almost like diaries of performers, right? Because it's about their experience in the industry just as much as it is about the tricks.
Right.
So I'm guessing that is your sort of love when it comes to magic. It's the stories of performers throughout history.
Yeah, I mean, so Darren's book's on here as well. obviously Darren's phenomenal. And I couldn't put it down. I couldn't stop reading the book. It's the book where he's on tour. It's just great. And there's some tricks in there that are brilliant as well. His ring flight is amazing, but just to hear him in cafes writing, I love it. It makes me feel like I'm on the road. So, but yeah, to be completely truthful, magic to me is our way to get to the hook and the story and the audience. I'm going to be locked into a room with 1,000 strangers. How can I make them care? All of us can do tricks and we can learn tricks and do tricks, and that's all fine and good and great. But and your shows actually are a great example of this. I've watched all of the shows that you've done, Terrifying Taboos, etc. And they're great because it doesn't matter what the trick is. The trick's fine. The trick's a trick. And watch BGT, all the Got Talents, there's a million tricks. But how do we make them gasp and lean forward and breathe deeply and feel scared and feel happy? And I want an emotional roller coaster. If you watch a movie and the movie makes you feel nothing, not a good movie. All the best songs that you hear will hit a chord. Sad, happy, party, dancing, whatever. So I think magic has to hit those beats. And the books that I've mentioned, they give you the full rounded picture of the performer. And I think that really shows you the insights of off the stage. Like how to not get nervous, how to stay planted, not move around, how to talk on a microphone. All of these things are the real magic. Because a trick is a trick is a trick. And it's good to have great tricks and perform them well, of course. But that doesn't make you a good performer. Performing is different to presenting, I think. And all of the books that I mentioned, if you just take a little kind of nugget from all of them, it will really help me at least learn some performance skills.
Well, I would say that perfectly reflects your list as well. If you look at the list, you've got so many peaks and troughs all the way through those moments. You've got that sort of high impact, high energy chair routine. And you've got like the tense moment of the burning. Will he get that match? Will he not? Building up that tension. And then you have these really lovely sentimental moments like Gypsy Balloon. And then you've got this really immersive thing when you were talking about the bird cages and the feathers coming down of Hummingbirds. You've just got so many lovely high energy moments, and then sort of these whimsical moments that are fairy tale like, and then these really sentimental, relaxing moments as well all the way through the show. So it shows that your show, your Vegas show, I'm guessing, I hope I get to see it one day, but I'm guessing
Please come in.
I would love to see it, especially after seeing this list. But there must be so many moments of just this bang, let's get the audience going, let's get them riled up, and now let's make them care about something, let's make them think about this thought or this idea or this concept, and then let's bring them into our world.
Yeah, so I love theatre. So theatre is my kind of core for everything. And I read as many theatre books and musical theatre, lighting books, technician books. Like, how can you learn everything? But in one of the effects in the show, I put on a wind machine, but they can't hear it. But the room gets cold. And I want them to put their coats on. And I want that uncomfortableness. If you go and watch Ghost Stories of Andy Nyman, when the hospital scene happens, you smell that clinical smell. It's theatre. There has to be a theatrical arc. There has to be a narrative. And I think that's the same if you're going around doing close-up magic. If you go to a table, well, let's do table theatre. How can we make them care? Even if it's 4 minutes, it's great. Card goes in, back to the top. But make that mean something. Like, how can you... Maybe it's you take a picture of them, a Polaroid picture, and now it's their picture that keeps coming back because whatever, it doesn't matter. But I'm not saying change every trick. I think the point that I believe the most and feel the strongest about is the audience has to have an experience. From the second a ticket is purchased to when they sit back at home and leave a review, that experience begins and ends. The show is the middle point. So all of our team, I speak to them every day, wear the right clothes, smell a certain way, the music in the foyer, the drinks that we serve. Afterwards, the music changes because I want their feeling to be different. All of these things create magic for me. And quote unquote magic is the effects great, but imagine if you just got them to care. And if they care, then they come back. And that's all. Yeah, and talking to you is a joy because you do this effortlessly. And it's it's watching performers and forgetting the tricks. Like, it's great, but how many can you have? Like, at some point, I know you obviously buy more magic, go to Alakazam and buy stuff, but at some point, you've got to, I think, focus on, if I sat this guy on a hard seat on the stage or for the close-up, he's going to feel uncomfortable. Great. So let's do a trick that makes him feel more uncomfortable. Or let's put him in cushions. He's going to feel cozy. Let's do something with bubbles. Whatever it is. Like, how can we take every moment and amplify it? Not just the magic, everything. And that's where real magic lies for me.
Well, I think the magic is the illustration to the book in the story in the book, should I say, right? So you have this book, you're reading it, it's an incredible story, and then you have this very simple image that just makes your brain go, that's what that thing is. And earlier on you mentioned Derek Dalgodio's In and of Itself, and I think there's a beautiful, probably my favourite moment in the show with the brick, and he says, you see this as just a brick right now, but I'm going to tell you something that's going to make you see this completely different. And then, without spoiling too much, he then says, but now this is a weapon. Now it means something completely different to you. And I think a lot of the time, that's what we're doing, not just with props. We're changing the way people see the world sometimes. And I think that's what magic does in a roundabout way. Not only is it just an illustration of a story, but it makes people see things differently, even if for just 2 minutes. And whether that is them scared or happy or upset, it doesn't matter. It's just an experience for them.
Yeah, so we're doing some consultancy at the minute, and that's the entire reason that we're there, is to find those moments. And I think that somebody might listen to this and say, well, yeah, but great, I haven't got a theatre, or I haven't, there was a time where Tash and I lived in our car. There was a time where we literally sold everything to come to Like, it's not this illusion of grandeur. You can make magic in your front room. Like, before we was in Vegas, I was in a cabin on a ship, or backstage in a theater, or in Times Square, wherever we were. It doesn't matter. It hasn't got to have lights and screens and smoke and smells. You can do things yourself. And it hasn't got to be money either. It's not this thing of, well, I can't afford it. Just get some paper and add a number and make it link to a billboard or whatever. It doesn't matter. Magic's the best, I think. I think about it from the second I wake up to when I go to bed. And I know that we all do. And I want them to leave caring. And I think they can. And when they do, it's a memory they'll have forever. It's the best.
Well, that's a lovely segue into our final selection. So this is your item. This is the non-magic item that you use for magic. It's the curveball, because we never know what's going to happen here. So what did you put in your item?
Well, I think it's been said before. In fact, I know it has. But for me, it has to be music. I have music on all the time. When I'm writing a show, I have music on, and I change the music and choose the music to fit the theme and the feel. There's an underscore to everything we do. Music can change everything. It's overused and oversaid, but watch a movie with the sound off, it doesn't matter. If you watch it with the sound on, it hits you. There's some music that I listen to, like Vegas is the best, and I'm so happy to be here, but I miss home. Like, I miss my grandma. She's 90, and I love her, and I want to see her and be with her. And every New Year's Eve, I normally sit with her and hold her hand, and we watch the fireworks on the telly. And this year I was here, and it was amazing. But I hear a piece of music, and it just takes me straight back to England and back to a little village, sitting with my grandma with a cup of tea, watching Coronation Street. And music can pull at heartstrings, and it can change the dynamic of everything. There's a moment in our show where we get scary and we get spooky and we go blackout, and Ring of Roses starts, but like this weird orchestral slow version. And I hear the screams before they've seen anything. And that's not me or the tricks, that's just the feel in the room. And that's all music. I work with music constantly. I'm writing music, running music, gym music. The soundtrack of my life is music. I remember now the song that David had when he was doing the Rose. Like, it's music adds this connection to the moment. It makes it cement. It makes it solidify in your mind. So I know it's not the best answer, but I really can't imagine doing a show or performing like the Hummingbirds. I've got the track being made and I can't wait for that car to rise and the music to lift. Oh, like, music to me is as important to me personally as the magic, because it helps aid it so much.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's a cop out at all. I think it's absolutely true. And I think music can change the context of things quite quickly and easily. And I remember years ago there was a very crude example, but it was like someone wrote on a piece of paper, it was like the word, "I've been keeping an eye on you." And there was like this really lovely poetic music in the background. It's really romantic. And the idea was, you know, "I've been keeping my eye on you." And then they changed the music and it was like a really creepy, scary music. And then you read it back, "I've been keeping an eye on you." But with that music, suddenly everything changes meaning in the moment of that music. So I think it's absolutely right. I do think that music can change the vibe of a trick. And they always say that you should have a sentence. So each trick is a sentence. So write down your show and write down a sentence and then get your music choices and play the music and just read out that sentence and then change it to the next track, read out. And you'll start to realize that as you're explaining it, the music will change the meaning of what you're reading out in terms of the routine.
For sure. In our first theatre show that we toured, like a year after Tash and I started working together, we had envelopes. And every time one was opened, the music would change. Exactly what you just said. One would be uplifting, and then one would be sad, and then one would be scary. And the reaction on the person's face opening the envelope would change because of the music behind them. And I think it's a really important thing to think about if you're going to do a stage show, even if it's in a working man's club, if it's on Zoom, if it's in the front room, it doesn't matter, even close up. Why not? Why not try and do, I don't know, a tossed out deck, whatever you're going to do, but just put different songs on, because you're going to feel different things. And then you might go, hang on, that felt right. And then you can go, okay, that was hip hop. If it's for you, great. And then you find your through line through that. Again, it doesn't mean every trick should have music. Sometimes silence is golden. There are moments, the match, for example, I am silent. I want you to hear the wood fall. I want that rhythmic kind of ethereal feel. But there are other times, like the Hummingbirds, where the soar of the music will just make everything elevate. So yeah, last thing. This has been so fun. I've loved this. The last thing is music for me.
Well, I think that's an incredible list. We've gone from chapters of Marc Spelmann, Gypsy Balloon, Hummingbirds, the Blindfold Act, Chair Routine, The Burning, Mental Wine Tasting, Floating Rose. Your Banishment is Fake Magic. Your book is The Method to My Madness by Jonathan Goodwin, and your item is music. What a great list.
Thank you for having me. I've honestly loved this.
Well, it's been great to finally have you on. I know we've been trying for a little while to get you on. But if people want to find out more about you, your shows, where to find you, I know that you said you're coming to the UK as well. Where can they find out all of that information?
Well, we're performing a few private things in London. However, I would quite like to come and do a hour little lecture or something somewhere. I don't know. It's not booked yet. But Cabin of Wonders, Las Vegas, 6 days a week. If you've listened to this podcast, then just send me a message. Instagram at The Conjurers. If you're in Vegas, reach out. I will sort a ticket out for you, get you a free VIP upgrade. Let's have coffee after. Let's talk magic. I'm around to jam and available. If you're at Magic Live as well, come and see the show. Come on in. I hope you like it. We change it all the time. I'm always consistently working and trying to put new things in and tweak things. And you're all more than welcome. Also, Instagram at The Conjurers is where the majority of our stuff is. We don't really post to YouTube because we try and keep it this secret thing when you come in the room. But if any magicians are where I was when I reached out to Marc, reach out to any of us, because everyone's lovely and what a great community to be part of. And I think all of us just want good magic. So if you're struggling, ask someone. I watched a thing with Pete the other day and Harry, and they said about maybe doing classes where you can pay for a Zoom. Well, even if you're not working on magic, just pay for a Zoom about how to walk out on a stage, how to hold a microphone, all of these things. We live in a time where these things are so accessible and we're so blessed to use them. So let's all join forces and continue to inspire and create wonder in our audiences.
Well, I think that's a great closing gambit. Thank you so much, Matthew, for your time. It's been a joy talking to you and to find out a bit more about your thoughts behind magic and, of course, being the first person to banish, which is exciting as well.
Thank you for having me. What a treat. Keep up the amazing work, and thank you for doing this podcast.
Thank you, Matthew. And of course, you guys know we do have Stranded with a Stranger, which is your opportunities to send in your list. So please do send them in, sales@alakazam.co.uk. Do go check out Matthew's show. I will definitely be seeing it one day, wherever it may be, because it sounds phenomenal.
And the show is as much Natasha. She is phenomenon. I stand in the wings every day, and all those things we spoke about, the crying, the laughing, all of that, she makes me and the audience feel. She's a powerhouse, and I couldn't do it without her. And The Conjurers is as much, if not more, her than me, and together hopefully we do something fun.
Or maybe we need to get Natasha on. Maybe she can come onto the podcast and we can get her thoughts on things as well.
Should love that.
So thank you guys for listening. We'll be back next week, of course, with Season 2, Episode 2 of Desert Island Tricks. You would have thought after 52 I would have remembered the name of that now. Thank you guys very much, and we'll see you next week. Goodbye for now.
Hi, Peter Nardi here, and I really hope you enjoyed that podcast. I just wanted to let you know that Alakazam have their own app. You can download it from the App Store or the Google Play Store. By downloading the app, it will make your shopping experience even slicker at Alakazam. You'll also get exclusive in-app offers and in-app live streams. So go download it now, and we'll see you on the next podcast.